Hello, how are you wonderful, wonderful people on this lovely Halloween Monday? Now, I'm doing this video mainly because I can't let certain things go. And, I appreciate fully that there are a lot of people whose mentality is, look, this case is done. This case is over. I heard in the live that I did last night that another creator, who I'm not going to name, I was a little bit disappointed that I heard that they'd said this, but they had said that anybody who feels that this was not an accident is kind of low IQ. I wouldn't say that I'm of low IQ, and I certainly don't believe that this was an accident in the sense that there is no culpability. And I'm going to say why. Now, we have seen Sami Smith consistently speak of the evening that Kiely lost her life. She has gone and done a few interviews, whether it be with news, whether it be with YouTube creators, but she has put herself at the forefront, and she has consistently pushed a specific narrative. And that narrative is that Kiely was intoxicated. Whenever you hear Sami talk of that evening, she is pushing the narrative that Kiely was intoxicated. And I believe she was pushing that narrative for the purpose of boxing in that story, of making the accident theory seem more plausible. That had always been decided. And I've seen it happen myself. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I know families who are wealthy and they have swept things under the rug when it comes to their children. Many years ago, when I was in my teens, there was a lad who hung around with us. He had taken his father's motorcycle out. He was underage. He was speeding. He hit a person and killed them. And money got him out of that. In fact, not only did it get him out of that, they managed to twist the entire story so it looked like this person had utilized him to unalive himself, and that he was then going to be the one suffering from trauma, completely ignoring the fact that he had taken out a far too powerful motorcycle, was driving it or riding it erratically, and killed someone. And that happens. It happens. If you've got money, you can make things disappear. And I have countless stories like that. Countless. Not just that one, but stories where money has trumped justice. And we see it all too often. But what I'm going to say to people is this, and I want people to answer me this. All of the people out there who abuse the channels that talk about Kiely, who criticise, who accuse us of making money off the back end of this case and things like this, and saying that we're wrong in talking about this case. I want you guys to step forward. I want you guys to step forward and comment down below how you can be certain that this was an accident. When the toxicology report proves that Sami was lying. A 0.88 volume of ethanol in the samples that were taken from Kiely's corpse is not consistent with the amount of alcohol that Sami had claimed Kiely had in her system. To be intoxicated to the point where they didn't want to get in the car, they didn't want to, she could hardly walk and talk. I've said this numerous times. The amount that was in her system was consistent with the ethanol production during the process of decomposition. So when you factor the volume of ethanol that will be produced in that situation, it's you see where I'm going with this? Kiely was not. I'm saying that she wasn't intoxicated to the point where her driving would have been impaired. I was sent an email. It was of someone who was driving down towards that water. You know, they are a local. And look, I get many emails from locals in this area. And even the locals in this area, some of them too scared to say who they are, but they are clear in their feelings. And that is that this is not an accident. This is money talking and people who have guilt all over them walking. And I'm just, don't shoot the messenger. I'm telling you what people from this place are saying. And, everybody can be these people that turn around and say, oh, you're wrong, you're doing this, you're doing that, you got to... Is that the world that we want to live in? That is why countries like the UK, countries like the US are in the state that they're in. If you go round someone's house and that house is pristine and you have a cup of coffee, what are you going to do with that cup when you've finished it in the pristine house? I'll tell you what you'll do. You'll make sure that cup is put somewhere away nicely. If you go round someone's house as a shithole and you have a drink of coffee, if you have a drink of coffee, what are you going to do? You're going to leave the cup on the side. And that's what's happening in these countries. These countries, like the US, like the UK, they are just filled with people who don't make sure that their house is kept in order. They're too easy to let things go to shit. So why should anybody have respect for the likes of law enforcement? Why should anybody have respect for their fellow friends when it can be so easily bought and sold? Justice, that is. Our countries are falling apart, and they're falling apart because too many people will just turn a blind eye, or they refuse to accept that corruption at these levels exist. And you're just being naive. You're being naive. It happens all the time. And all I'm going to ask you is, why would Sami claim that Kiely was drinking the same drinks as her, they were sharing drinks, doing all that, if she wasn't? Which the toxicology report would make it look like she wasn't. I don't get that. Maybe you can let me know down below. Like I said, please tell me. And if she was indeed intoxicated, which the toxicology report couldn't say that she was, and I'll tell you what, it couldn't say that she was in any sense, because that would have then meant that Sami was guilty, because she had placed herself with Kiely that entire night, and she would have been the person that supplied Kiely with the alcohol. So you've got a situation of being caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, because you want to push the accident narrative, and you need to have a contributive factor such as alcohol, which meant that Kiely would have indeed driven in the reservoir, but you can't have physical documentation that is not questionable, because then you've got a guilty party in Sami. So they won. They won by being shady about it. They won because nothing made sense. So if it ever went to court, there'd be so many arguments that you wouldn't be able to pinpoint blame anywhere. This was purposefully orchestrated to leave everybody going, what the actual fuck? How is that possible? How is that possible? Because they needed this outcome. They needed enough of enough information to say that Kiely was drunk and intoxicated, and that's why it happened. So you've got Sami saying that she was drunk, she was intoxicated, blah, 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 but then you haven't got official documentation that supports it. And that link between them two things not being questioned is the frustrating thing for me. I don't understand why not enough people are saying, hold on a second. What are we saying? Are we saying that Kiely was stone cold sober and driven into the reservoir, and that these kids were lying about how much she'd had to drink? Or are we saying the toxicology report wasn't done right? Is it, again, you have to factor in the time it took for them to find Kiely. All these little things have a part to play. The delays, again, in a court of law, it would cause an issue because the samples on Kiely then wouldn't have been as good as they would have been 2 weeks previous. They done the whole lot. In my eyes, the entire fucking thing was orchestrated from start to finish. They knew what happened. They knew what they had to do. They did it. And as fucking usual, no one's going to question it. And we're going to have another situation where money wins again. And that's why I'm not fucking letting it go. And a message to Jeff is you back tube Jeff. Reach out to me and we'll see what we can do in terms of getting some money together and getting someone on this case. Catch you all in the next one.